Today's Cowboys Report is sponsored by RexMD. If you sometimes lack some confidence in the bedroom, RexMD here to help make your life just a little bit easier while making something maybe just a little bit harder. RexMD.com/chat. Tell you all about them later on in today's show. As we begin with the latest on Tony Pollard. The franchise tag extension deadline is July 17th. Now, the Cowboys have until that date to get a long-term deal done with Tony Pollard. And if they do not, Pollard has to play on the franchise tag. There's also some weird, convoluted stuff of he can take less, but he's already signed his tender, so he's going to play on the tag. He has signed that $10.09 million tender. That is the key deadline. It is a week away. And if the Cowboys don't get a deal done with Pollard by then, he's playing on the tag this year. And I will say, for a week to go before the extension deadline, it is awfully quiet around Pollard and a potential new deal. There's not a lot of buzz out there around what's going to happen with Pollard. Will a new deal happen, etc. It just seems very quiet. Maybe because it's a running back and so much national attention has instead been paid to guys like Josh Jacobs, etc. There's not a lot going on right now around Pollard, which I find quite interesting in terms of will a deal end up getting done. Now, Pollard right now is actually tied for 7th among the highest paid backs in the NFL. I do think this matters because Pollard right now has a 1-year, $10 million deal, basically. If he's trying to maximize during, let's say, the next 4 years or 3 years or whatever, Pollard's making $10 million guaranteed this year. What does he have to get next year to make it worthwhile? The guaranteed money is not great for a running back. But if he wants to be a top 10 highest paid back, do you think Tony Pollard could find a, let's just say 2 years, $18 million deal with $10 million guaranteed next year on the open market? Could he get a Miles Sanders-esque deal next year? If he thinks he can, then it actually makes some sense to not over-pursue a new contract and factor in that $10 million you're guaranteed to get and then kind of go from there. So what ends up happening here, to kind of sum it up, is that the short-term money very much favors Pollard. And there's a reason why the Cowboys have had issues, as we'll get into later on, getting long-term deals done with franchise tag players. Pollard's coming off his best year ever. He had 1,000 yards last season. And the one constant we've seen with Tony Pollard over an upward course, bigger volume, hasn't really impacted his production. 86 carries, 5.3 yards. Not very good in 2020, down to 4.3. Still better than some of the other players, but the offensive line was decimated by injuries, which is a factor, of course. 5.5 on 130 back in 2021, and then 5.2 this year. So from where he began to what he is now, over 100 more carries, 0.1 yards less. That's it. That's not really any type of drop-off to be concerned about. Now, the Cowboys historically have not done a great job of paying players on the tag for their first tag. They did not get a deal done with Dalton Schultz. He's gone now. They eventually paid Dak and DeMarcus Lawrence, but it took a secondary tag. They paid Des Bryant before his tag, before the deadline, never paid Anthony Spencer, paid Ken Hamlin, and did not end up paying Flozell Adams. So prediction time with a week to go. Will the Dallas Cowboys get a deal done with Tony Pollard? Y for yes, N for no. This is today's pinned comment. So if an ad happens to come here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there. Y for yes, N for no. Micah Parsons conversation now. So ESPN has ranked the top 10 edge rushers based on executives, coaches, and players all coming together and vote. And Micah ranked number 3 in those voting lists, rankings, etc. He was as high as number 1 for some and as low as number 6. Who put him at 6? I don't really know. But these are the top 10 edges according to the ESPN rankings here. Nick Bosa was number 1. Myles Garrett was number 2. Seems like Micah Parsons beat out a very close tiebreaker against T.J. Watt, with youth and versatility winning there per ESPN. Hassan Reddick, Max Crosby, Brian Burns, Von Miller, and then the other Bosa, Joey Bosa. Good note it was made by Cam Jordan, by the way. Very heavy towards just pass rushing and not so much the run-stopping angle of it, which I think is at least worth discussing. We'll come back to Micah Parsons, but if you sometimes lack some confidence in the bedroom, if you wish you could have a more fulfilling sex life, well, you are not alone. That's why we're excited to tell you guys about RexMD, the online source for men's wellness. RexMD offers an easy and discreet way to get the medication you need for ED without having to visit a doctor's office. With just a few clicks, you can have your medication delivered straight to your door at just a fraction of the cost of traditional pharmacies. RexMD's team of licensed physicians will work with you to find the right treatment plan, and their medication is made in the USA, so you can trust its quality. Plus, their customer support team is available 24/7 to answer any questions or concerns you may have. So if you're ready to take control of your sex life and say goodbye to ED, head on over to rexmd.com/chat and start your consultation today. Take advantage of the best deal they've ever offered and save up to 90% off, only pay $2 per dosage with our exclusive link. It's rexmd.com/chat for up to 90% off. Links in the comment section and the description of today's show. This is what one NFL coordinator told ESPN about Micah Parsons. Unnamed, anonymous, of course, so who knows if they're real. But it wouldn't surprise me if he's number one by next year. His talent is undeniable. NFL personnel evaluator says he has a knack for setting up blockers and getting them off balance. It's not just ability. He sets up tackles and has a plan, and he brings versatility. Micah Parsons, his impact the last 2 years has been very obvious. He's what I call a gravity player, where there is their own little sense of gravity with where they are on the field. The attention goes that direction. The flow of the play will sometimes try to go away from it. The offensive line might shift in that direction. There's a visible and very real feel for the way he impacts the game, even beyond just the stat sheet, which 26.5 sacks through 2 seasons is pretty damned impressive for a very young and very talented player. So you saw that ESPN ranked Micah Parsons at number 3. Where would you rank Micah Parsons among pass rushers in the entire NFL? Is he number 1 for you? Is 3 right? Would you even rank him a little bit lower? Get those answers in for me in the comment section right now. Tyler Biadasz is next up here. As Blogging the Boys suggested, the Dallas Cowboys should extend Biadasz now, this offseason. Biadasz is coming off a Pro Bowl season, which, did he play like a Pro Bowler? I don't know about that one. I think it was someone had to get in, and the Pro Bowl's kind of a joke now. But, hey, he did get there. I will say Biadasz has gotten better each season. Is that enough to get in a new contract? Blogging the Boys had pitched a 4-year, $44 million deal. That would put him at 7th among the highest-paid centers right now in the entire NFL. He'd be behind Eric McCoy, ahead of Mitch Morse. There's a bit of a gap there with the highest-paid centers, and there's been a bit of a fall-off after Morse even, where some players have been cut, etc. That's kind of a dicey standpoint in terms of what the money looks like. Is $11 million too much for him? I kind of wonder maybe it is. He did not allow a sack last year. He was much better in that area. The hurries and hits were okay for a center. Not elite, but maybe good is the word for it there. He did not grade out very well from a PFF run grade. Might be a little bit lower than what I would have done it, but you know what? That's the data point from PFF, and we'll keep it consistent from that perspective. So do you guys want to extend Tyler Biadasz? I'll discuss some of my thoughts here momentarily. What do you guys want to do? P for you want to pay him, or W for you would rather wait and not get a deal done immediately? I want you guys to sound off here for me in the comment section. It is P for pay him, or W for wait. You don't want to get overcommitted to your center at this stage. I think I would wait on Biadasz. I don't think he's a must-pay player right now. I do think he's gotten better. I do want to give him some credit from that stuff. I think over the years, we've seen better play every season out of the former 4th-round pick from Wisconsin. And on his current deal, he's definitely valuable. You're not paying very much for what I would call solid to good play at the center position. But hypothetically, 4 years, $44 million, am I paying too much for good here? That would be my concern. On the flip side, is it no matter what, I'm going to be disappointed because it's not Travis Frederick? Or do we have our expectations in line properly? I would think so, but I'm not totally sure. I want to at least acknowledge the possibility of the preconceived notions and biases there. But at some point, you can't pay everybody. You can pay any one individual player, but you can't pay all of them. I'm not convinced Biadasz is the guy I want to give $11 million to. Kind of like in the Dalton Schultz category. Now, folks, we gained 476 subscribers in June. That's kind of mediocre. Let's get 600 in July. We're off to a slow start. I have faith in us doing that. So if you haven't already, make sure you guys are subscribed for more free Cowboys videos. The NFL Supplemental Draft is tomorrow. Yeah, how about that? 2 players are eligible. Milton Wright, the wide receiver out of Purdue, and Malachi Wideman, the wide receiver, Wideman, right, out of Jackson State. Could either guy end up being a Cowboy? Let's break him down, beginning with Milton Wright, the Purdue wide receiver. 3 years, 99 catches, over 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. Was better this past year, had some buzz around him, but then wasn't academically eligible. So he says, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and get into the supplemental draft. I do not expect either of these guys to be drafted. Wright has had the production this past year, but his numbers per his pro day, thanks to Dane Brugler of The Athletic, not very good. Actually outright disastrous and frankly undraftable. 4.6940, 6'1.5", 190. Very disappointing results there for Milton Wright. The way the supplemental draft works is you have to spend a future pick. There's kind of a lottery system involved. I don't think anyone is going to spend a pick on Milton Wright. Maybe a 7th rounder, but that's poor athletic results there. Meanwhile, Wideman, who began his career at Tennessee, by the way, 13 touchdowns, had some success. Didn't have the best season. Jackson State only had 3 catches this past year. I don't think the production is there. These guys might end up getting a shot in training camps, but I don't think either guy ends up getting drafted.